welcome to another video. In this video, I'm going to be going over K-pop companies which I think flopped and owned the scene in 2022. To give you insight into my selection process, I evaluated companies by comparing their activities in 2022 to their expected success and reputation. This means that while the big three in HYBE obviously has many of the biggest groups, they have a higher standard to reach and may appear in the flopped category. Also, my selection is based on quantifiable measures of popularity or success, such as sales, charts, and music show wins. Whether or not I personally enjoyed a release isn't factored in, so groups where I liked the release might be in the flopped category, while groups which releases I disliked might be in the owned category. So with all that out of the way, let's get to the first K-pop company which flopped in 2022. So to start this video off with a bang, we have YG Entertainment. I'm sure you've all heard the news of iKON not re-signing with the company, and honestly, this news did not surprise me at all. Having watched Kingdom, I wasn't sure why iKON was there in the first place. They didn't really seem to have a direction or a purpose for being on the show, and this was confirmed when iKON did not release a comeback for a long time after the show ended. In 2022, iKON released Flashback to decent sales and had concerts, but otherwise wasn't really active. I'm unsurprised that YG didn't have a creative direction for the group and that most members did not resign. And I could see this getting worse in the future with Daesang not resigning for Big Bang and potentially seeing a similar thing happening to Big Bang in the future. So all in all, YG's older groups have not been faring too well. Even in YG's leading group, Blackpink, the cracks are beginning to show. In 2022, Blackpink released the Born Pink album with Pink Venom as a pre-release and Shut Down as a title track. And they were both undoubtedly successful. Over 2 million sales were counted on the album, and both charted very well in Korea. But these achievements are relatively expected for Blackpink's level of popularity and success. However, where Blackpink stalled this year is regarding their tour, which faced a lot of controversy in online K-pop spaces for the lack of energy and passion from the members during the choreography and the performance in general. And it seems to me that some of this disappointment comes not only from outside of the Blink fandom, but from Blinks themselves. And from my perspective, the excitement around the group has abated, and even from Blinks, there's not a real anticipation for their next releases. There are rumors of them leaving to the Black label, which still is related to YG Entertainment, so it's not a big move, but I think Blackpink will need to turn it around to regain the goodwill of the K-pop space in 2023. So finally, let's talk about YG's youngest boy group, Treasure. This year, they released 2 comebacks with the lead titles Jikjin and Hello respectively. Their B-side Dorari went viral, they got their first win, and they had good sales on both of those releases. However, this relatively successful year turned into shock as Mahiro and Yedim left the group. The fact that Yedim left the group to pursue music production shows how he has relatively no confidence in this group's creative direction. Also, from what I understand, Yedim and Mahiro are among the most popular and well-known members, especially outside the fandom. So I wonder if Treasure will be able to manage this transition into fewer members entering 2023. All in all, I think YG had a pretty weak 2022, with 2 of their big boy groups losing a lot of momentum and even Blackpink performing lower than their standards. The one company that absolutely dominated 2022 is Starship Entertainment, home to groups like monstax, IVE, and wjsn. So starting with IVE, let's just list their achievements this year. The singles 11, Love Dive, and Afterlike all peaked at number 1 or number 2 on the Gaon charts. They had extremely solid sales throughout the 3 comebacks and exceeded 1 million by Afterlike, which is absolutely unbelievable for a rookie girl group. Love Dive also won Song of the Year at Mama. They were undoubtedly the top group of the year, and I see them as leaders for K-pop to come. However, it wasn't just IVE that was successful in the company this year. wjsn has quietly been having a very strong 2022. They had a phenomenal win on Queendom, where they showed off their vocal and performance abilities in the stages. Additionally, the strength of their Chinese fandom was demonstrated in the voting process, and their domestic fandom showed up to give them good streaming numbers. They followed up this win with the comeback Last Sequence, which recorded their highest album sales yet at 180,000. This wasn't the immense increase in popularity you'd expect with showing up on a show like Queendom. However, even winning Queendom against top girl groups like Loona demonstrates that wjsn has a strong place in the K-pop industry. Additionally, wjsn Chokame had the comeback Super Yuppers, and in my opinion is adorable and one of the most lovable comebacks of the year, and this charted up to number 8 on the Korean charts. All in all, wjsn is an older group who is still going strong. Looking at their boy groups now, monstax had a great year. They had a tour, which had dates in the US and Korea. All the members, except for IM, renewed, but even IM will continue to participate in the group, which means this group will continue to be super active and successful. The Shape of Love album recorded over 450K sales, and the single Love peaked number 60 on the nayeon charts. All in all, monstax has continued their momentum as a top boy group. Even looking at Starship's youngest boy group, Cravity, we can see the signs of improvement. This year, Cravity released Adrenaline and Party Rock, as well as the singles Boogie Woogie and Vivid, and they were able to crack 200,000 sales on one of these albums. They were able to get a win with Party Rock, and Adrenaline peaked number 7 on Gaon, which is unusual for 4th gen boy groups. Adrenaline is one of my personal favorite comebacks of the year, by the way. And through the releases this year, they were able to show off a new bright concept, which distinguishes them from the other 4th gen groups. To me, this is a good creative direction moving forward, and I see them gaining popularity as they distinguish themselves relative to other 4th gen boy groups. Looking at Starship as a whole, they have leaders of K-pop in IVE. They've continued their momentum with established successful groups like wjsn and monstax, and have reoriented Cravity into a good new trajectory. All in all, these groups are promising and exciting, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they will do in 2023. So, another K-pop company which flopped in 2022 is RBW Entertainment. Just as a disclaimer, I know that they acquired WM Entertainment, home to Oh My Girl and On and Off, as well as DSP Media, which houses Mirai and Card. However, this will not be considered in this ranking because these companies still act with their previous management and are subsidiaries and are still independent labels, kind of like Source Music and Adore under Hybe. So they're really separate, and I don't consider them part of the core RBW family. RBW's biggest group is undoubtedly Mamamoo, who has continued to struggle and dwindle in popularity as a continuation of 2021. This year, Mamamoo released Mic On with the lead single Ilela. It sold decent, but it didn't chart nearly well enough for Mamamoo's standards, especially considering their level 2 or 3 years ago. The Mamamoo solos were not very successful this year. Hwasa was inactive, and Moonbyul and Solar's barely charted. The most successful solo was actually Wheein, whose solo activities are now under another company. All in all, it seems that RBW has pretty much ended activities for Mamamoo, and as they were their biggest group by far, they're losing their biggest source of income. However, even worse than Mamamoo is probably Purplekiss, who is supposed to be one of the leaders of this company's future. This year, Purplekiss released the albums MEMEM and Nerdy, the prior of which was received very poorly on K-pop online spaces. Their sales stayed the same relative to 2021, and they didn't chart well, meaning they failed to gain a solid fandom, and they haven't gained any traction since debut. Additionally, the member Jian left the group due to anxiety. All in all, it seems like Purplekiss are not ready to lead the company in the future. With Mamamoo and Purplekiss having poor 2022s, oneus is left with the spot as the company's leading act. This year, they had a US tour and released 2 mini albums, Trickster and Malice, both of which sold over 200,000 copies. They also got 4 wins for their title track Same Scent. However, even their success was marred by the controversy of Raven, and he had to leave the group. All in all, RBW does not really have any strong acts entering 2023. RBW has had a very poor 2022, with their largest act Mamamoo dwindling to insignificance and Purplekiss failing to gain any traction. A company which undoubtedly slayed 2022 was Adore, a Hybe subsidiary which owns the group New Jeans. If you didn't know, Min Hee-jin is the CEO of the label, and she was previously an artistic director at SM Entertainment. Under her direction, New Jeans pre-released the singles Attention and Hype Boy, which were extremely well received for their production, and made the full comeback hotly anticipated and have huge pre-orders. Upon the release of the first EP, they broke records for girl group debuts, recording the highest sales of a debut album in the first week. Even after this first EP, They pre-released Ditto for the next album, another track which was extremely well released. Somehow, NewJeans have managed to enter a highly saturated rookie girl group scene and make a statement. They have already created a reputation for having extremely strong discography, creative direction, and lore. I definitely see them being the leaders of K-pop moving forward. So the next K-pop company which underperformed in 2022 is FNZ Entertainment, home to groups like P1 Harmony, SF9, and Cherry Bullet. The main reason they're on this list is because of their management of Cherry Bullet. Following the show Girls Planet 999, the members, especially Bora, gained a lot of new attention and popularity. This seems like the golden opportunity for the group to finally gain a solid fandom and to propel themselves in the 4th gen girl group space. Instead, FNZ waited a long time to have their next comeback, and the EP Cherry Wish, with its title track Love in Space, had very poor sales and didn't chart at all. Ever since this release, Cherry Bullet has been inactive for the rest of the year, and it seems they have not gained their footing as a group and do not have a solid fandom. It seems like at this point FNZ has given up with promoting them, and it's really sad seeing that they had a lot of potential coming out of Girls Planet 999. Looking at FNZ's biggest group at the moment, it would probably be P1 Harmony. They had a relatively solid year with the US tour and 3 comebacks, all of which had over 100,000 in sales. However, this is really a stagnation of their previous popularity, and they've yet to have their real breakout moment. As of now, they really aren't competitive in the 4th gen boy group space. Looking at FNC's older boy group, SF9, we get a relatively brighter picture. They have managed to remain active despite 2 members enlisting. They had a US tour, the Wave of 9 album, which sold well, and a comeback plan for early 2023. It's really great that they're still active and profitable, and I think they are relatively the most successful group relative to their expectations for FNZ this year. It's really hard to believe a company which used to manage AOA and CN Blue is in a situation where P1 Harmony and Cherry Bullet are their leading acts, so I really hope FNZ is able to pull their act together for 2023. Yeah, I'm tomboy. A company which did well in 2022 was Cube Entertainment, which I was not expecting to say a year ago. However, they did manage to turn things around with their 2 biggest groups. Looking at Idol, they were entering the year with incredibly poor momentum following Sujin's departure and a long period of inactivity. There was a lot of uncertainty about whether they would rebound and maintain popularity or relevancy in the industry. However, they quickly quelled these fears with the release of the album I Never Die with the single Tomboy. This song absolutely destroyed the charts and got multiple perfect all kills. Following that, they released the album I Love with the title track Nude, which was applauded by fans for its unique and well thought out message and concept. This year, they also had a world tour and nayeon released a solo mini album. Through these releases, they were able to establish their identity as a 5-member group and gain a new momentum. And they also managed to compete with more recent 4th gen girl group debuts and establish themselves as one of the leading girl groups in the industry moving forward. The other major act under Cube Entertainment is B2B. This year, they had a full 6-member comeback with the title track The Song, following their military enlistment period. This song got music show wins, had solid sales relative to the group's previous levels, and peaked at number 10 on the Gaon charts. There's also solo releases from members Minhyuk and Chongsub, and they plan to hold a 10th anniversary concert soon. It's really great as a fan to see a 10-year-old group successfully continuing their careers in the industry, and I'm glad they were able to gain their footing following their military enlistment period. Obviously, all is not bright and well in Cube. Lightsum has lost 2 members this year, and their sales are getting worse since debut, and they haven't really established a solid fandom at all. Pentagon's future is looking iffy after Hui joined Boys Planet 999, which indicates they won't re-sign in 2023, and the company does not have a direction for the group. However, relative to 2021, where Idol was inactive and B2B was only promoting as the subunit B2B for You, Cube Entertainment's 2022 has been a market improvement relative to where the company was this time last year. So I'm sure you all saw this coming, but BBC Entertainment undoubtedly had a terrible 2022. I'm going to keep this short because I'm sure you're already intimately familiar with their terrible management of Loona. But in brief summary, Loona had a disastrous tour, which was hindered by poor planning and overbooking Chu. They followed this by mistreatment allegations against Chu, which they have failed to back up, and these alienated fans who now are boycotting pre-orders for the next comeback and made it indefinitely delayed. It's honestly baffling to me personally how BPC have financially managed this group. While they are a small company, invested a lot in hiring top producers like Monotree and having an elaborate pre-debut setup, Loona has undoubtedly been successful enough to more than cover these costs. They've developed a solid fandom and sales, seldom seen in girl groups before them. It's shocking the Loona members and BUC employees are not getting paid after all this time given their success. I wish the members and the employees all the best moving forward and hope they find better opportunities in the future. So these are my personal picks for the companies and groups which owned and flopped in 2022. This was a super fun video to make for me because it gave me a chance to really look into the numbers behind the K-pop industry, which was fascinating. Let me know what you think about the groups and companies which I covered in this video in the comments. And thank you for watching.